The answer lies in the heart of battle. And Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova podcast. This is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter. Hadouken!
All right, and welcome everyone to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova, and I'm coming at you today with another phenomenal interview. And in today's interview, we're going to be having with us the one, the only Andrew Alliance of the Show Radio Podcast. And it is a true honor to have this man on here. He's been in the podcast game for over 10 years, my people. 10 years. Bringing you the news, the tech, the gaming, the reviews, and more. And it's an honor. I had the opportunity of having his co-host on, Miss DJM, on the show previously, and now I've got the honor of having the man who started the podcast himself on. And in this episode, we're gonna go over tech, gaming, E3, being a content creator, the struggles with it, and much, much more. So, if you're ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. Let's go ahead and welcome Andrew onto the show. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Hawaii's #1 podcast, the Kasanova podcast. I'm your host, Mekel Kasanova. I have the true honor and privilege of having one of the greatest podcasters in the game on the show. Hey, stop being shy. You know it's true. The one, the only Andrew Alliance of the Show Radio Podcast. Man, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Man, thanks so much, man. No, it's an honor to be here on Hawaii's #1 podcast, and I thank you for the invitation. And I'm looking forward to just having a good time, good conversation with you. I've been podcasting since 2009. We crossed over 500 recently. We're building our YouTube channels independently now. I'm helping my co-host and encouraging her to do some different things with content, and we're both uncomfortable right now. But I'm just happy to be here, man.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy man, out here putting out great content, journalism, podcasting, YouTube, Twitch as well, right?
Twitch as well. Yeah, man.
Man, the grind is real. I don't think a lot of people understand the behind the scenes of what we do. It is not easy. It's not for everyone, but for those of us who are able to do it and do it as well, you do it phenomenally well. Nothing but respect.
I appreciate that. Now, I just explained to my cousin recently, my cousin Zach, he was like, yo, so what exactly all this thing that you've been doing and the stuff with going to LA and with these conventions and stuff? And he really started asking me like a whole bunch of questions of how the content creation process works with the podcast, the YouTube, the Twitch and stuff. And we talked for about an hour, and he was like, dude, that's hard. That's what he walked away with. And I'm like, bro, I said, it's not. I said, if you really love the process. And he was like, what about events and local conventions? Have you done meetups? And I was like, well, meetups is outside my range right now, but I would love to like moderate panels and even have conversation with different individuals at conventions. So we're talking about different things like that. But he was like, dude, that's a lot of stuff, man. And it's just you. I was like, no, not just me, but it's a bulk of a responsibility between two people, right? So so yeah, I just had to give that spiel recently too. So
yeah, like I've been giving that a lot lately, especially because I'm shocked that people at my job, because I work at a hospital. I'm an IT analyst, and a lot of the nurses and doctors come up to me and they're like, "Man, enjoy your show. Like, I'd like to do something like that." And I'm like, "Sure, you just need this, and this to get that going." And they're like, "That's a lot of work. I don't know if I have time for that."
Right.
Like,
and that's usually where the conversation ends.
Yeah. But yeah, man, tell people where they can find you on social media and any upcoming projects you're on, and plug it. Go ahead.
Right now, I'm trying something different. I'm trying something really different now. So I'm building up the YouTube stuff, and I got some content coming on there. I still have stuff under embargo right now that I'm preparing to release to the world, right? So there's that. But on YouTube right now, youtube.com/Andrew Alliance, which is my name, no spaces. Alliance is my real last name. And I have a tools section that I'm building as one of the links. So on YouTube, when you go to the About page, there's, you can put whatever you want. But I specifically, because I knew I was coming on this platform, I have a tool link right now, which is a Google Doc that I'm going to be updating on a regular basis of everything I've ever used in my process. So whether it's a mic thing, a software thing, anything I've ever used that has benefited me to catapult me to quote unquote the next level, all that stuff is going to go into that document. And right now that document is live right now on my YouTube channel. So youtube.com/Andrew Alliance. If you hit the About section, you'll see, the local, the Twitters, you see the main things that people usually put on there. But that tool list is a new link that I put on there as of, what are we on? Today is 7/6/2019. So that's on there now.
Man, isn't it hard to believe how quickly this year has been going by?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's the latest. The podcast is on there. The showradio.info. You can definitely check us out there with the stuff for the actual website. And definitely check out, Miss DJM at Miss DJM. She's doing fantastic things. I've listened to the podcast that you did with her, so I'm fully informed. I'm aware and updated on the conversation that went there. And I think it's good that I think I may just not be on any show that she's on from now on.
What?
Yeah, I don't think I should be on any podcast that she does from now on. In terms of like, if we're invited to be on a podcast, it's probably best that I'm not on there. And the reason I say that is because there's so much wisdom that flows from her, right? That I seldom get to hear in how we record our show, right? The only way I can hear that is if she's on a platform where I can, visualize and take notes from afar and stuff like that. And I think that was an amazing show that you guys did. And yeah, dude, I was just listening to her and I was like, wow, you know what I mean? And I was blessed by that. So.
And I'm shocked that we were able to go 5 hours long. Like, that's the longest podcast I've ever done. And it's like everyone who's listened to it, they're like, man, I didn't know that type of information. I was like, yeah, like she was dropping gems.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so definitely excited for her. And yeah, so tools section, I got y'all covered. And I'm tired for secrets to be secrets. I think a lot of the tools that we use aren't secrets, whether they're paid tools or free tools. I think we should all have access to those tools, whether you're just starting out or if I wish individuals told me this when I first started out, year one, at least I know that they were available and I could bookmark them for later. But I want that access to those things, that awareness to be raised right now. So yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, man. Let's talk about it. What got you into gaming? I gotta know.
Gaming. So 1987, my mom got me a Nintendo. Right. So Nintendo came out in 85, if I remember correctly. 87, I got it after just doing my chores for a week solid. Right. Because, you're inconsistent and stuff. And she was like, if you're consistent for this whole week, then I'm going to get you the Nintendo. And I think ever since the Nintendo, I've been in love with the game, if you will. It's been an exciting journey just to know that we can enjoy the experiences like, the Marios, the Contras, right, Zeldas, Double Dragon and all those games that we've enjoyed, a good portion of us, right, in that era throughout the years. And then that transitions into wanting to be active in an industry where we can broadcast ourselves and our content, right? That was really exclusive for individuals who went to the journalism school, who got, certain paperwork and things like that. But now it's allowing individuals who struggled with English, like I did growing up, where I can actually share my journey with individuals on a mic. And I think it's been an interesting journey.
Cool, man. Cool. And like as far as like podcasting and journalism, how did you get into that?
Well, I've always growing up, I've always had a passion to talk to people. I've always been now that I understand it to be like sociology and psychology, I've always been fascinated how people work, how people tick. And I've always had, because everybody has their superpower, right? My superpower has always been dealing with people in some way, shape, or form. Now, young and immature, knowing that's your superpower, you use it for other things. And I did, which I can't go on here. They were bad things, right? But getting of a particular age where there's maturity with your superpower and knowing that it can affect many lives, in a positive or negative way, then I wanted to have the opportunity to share my reactions or love for gaming with individuals on a microphone. So that's how that came about. Knowing that there's a skill set there that many have affirmed throughout the years, I kind of ignored it, but now I'm really embracing it more than ever, right? So there's that. But in terms of some struggles growing up. I mean, English was technically my first language, but because I went to school in Haiti and I was coming back to America for vacation, that was a struggle for me to get English correctly, whether that was timing or understanding the culture of my time growing up and conversation with people. That was a struggle. So having conversations with people was a difficult thing for me, right? So I had to take ESL. There was like the trailer outside of the Catholic schools. I would have to go through the trailer. And anybody who went through the trailer, was going to ESL. They were challenged in some way, and having that challenge was a struggle for me because I knew that at some point I can get better, right? So I would go home. I would watch Thundercats, Turtles, Charles in Charge, Who's the Boss, right? Family Ties, Facts of Life, you name it. All those shows that allowed me to understand that they were acting. Yeah, I get it. But they helped me understand like a cadence of conversation. And I studied that and to the point where I wanted to master it, right? And I think from there, as that action and that schooling for me helped me out later on to be on platforms and have conversations where people actually understand, where I believe I'm coherent, where I believe I add enough context to make sense. So the things that I say don't get taken out of context.
Okay. And then with this, to your podcast, show radio podcast, how did that come about? Like,
I was sitting on, I think I may have been in this room. I was sitting on the carpet and I was like, okay, so I'm listening to all these different shows already. A whole bunch of gaming podcasts, and I'm not gonna name them, but it's just a lot of gaming shows. And I was like, dude, they're talking about what they love about gaming, right? And they got their friends hanging out with them and they're having a conversation. I could do that, right? I could do that. I don't think that's difficult. So I just had to figure out what solution I needed to do to get that, to get that going, that process going. So a friend of mine, Lily, she said to me, well, there's a turnkey solution called Block Talk Radio. If you go on blocktalkradio.com, you can get an account and you can have people call in and start having conversations with you. And this was August of 2009. And I started doing the show on Block Talk Radio, which was inspired by, all the OGs, all the gaming gurus at the time. You know what I mean? They inspired me to get to a place where I wanted to do a show by myself. But of course, I believe it was the best thing that ever, came on the scene, right? Because I believe I can do it better. And I think that's a driver for many individuals. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, that we believe we're better than the next guy or gal, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the work over time shows that to be true or not true, right? But at the same time, the skill sets that we have are different. So I may be better at a particular thing, but I still need my brother or my sister to help me in certain areas that I'm weak at. And I'll probably always be weak at, just the nature of the thing, right? So that's pretty much how that came about. I was just sitting around and I was like, what? I need to do something with this love and passion and zeal that I have for gaming. And I need to share it with somebody. And at first it was trash, man. Come on. You know what I mean? And I think about it, listening to episode 1 from, where we are now, it was, but I did it. Right. And I think that is the message for most individuals coming up. You may be way better than me starting out today than, than a year ago or 2 years ago. You may have the gift of the journalism, the research, the broadcasting stuff, but we won't know because we're already, you know what I'm saying? We're in it already. So what's keeping you from coming up, right?
Yeah.
What's the barriers? And I think those are the barriers that we need to destroy, whether that's personal barriers or actual individuals telling you that you'll never be anything, and we hope that's not the narrative. But there has to be some individuals that you have in your corner that's gonna encourage you to do something great. And this is great, man. I'm in a different place now. I'm in a different place now because for me now, as it relates to this content creation thing, is really great conversations with dope people that I know that they have their own superpowers, and I want them to share those superpowers because I can leverage those relationships that I already have to help individuals that are not here yet, or individuals who have been here but don't have access to some of the individuals that I have access to. So it's a joy for me right now to create certain bits, or even reach out to individuals that, like some individuals from Guardian Con, that I was like, I would love to chat with you if you give me the opportunity. If you're going to be in New York soon, let me know. I'll bring all the equipment, and then we'll just find a spot, and then we'll wrap, because people need the information that you have. So that's where I'm at, man. It's a whole nother spot right now.
Oh, man, that's inspirational, man. I love your show. Like,
Appreciate it, man.
I think I said it on the podcast with Danny. Like, I was just like, did I say it on that? No, I think I said it on Twitter. I was just binge listening to your guys' episodes. Like,
No, I appreciate that, man.
Man, you guys have great quality. Stop being humble. It's true.
I appreciate it, man, because it's like it's a catch-22, man. I guess that's what they call it in certain spots and certain countries and territory. I know I'm good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to believe that about yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost I have to really be careful in how I present that affirmation for myself, but I shouldn't have to, because most of the people who are around us ain't telling us that we're good.
Yeah.
So who's gonna tell me that I'm good? Not my competition, and you're not my competition because I'm competing against myself. I want to be better than last year.
Yeah.
So you're not even my competition. Not you personally. I'm just saying, just speaking in general and talking out loud. You know what I mean? Like, we're not each other's competition. So what you think you're fighting against because you see a video go viral, or, you know, I don't have 11K on my YouTube. I'd love it. I would love it. But I don't have 11K on my YouTube. You know what I'm saying? There's just certain things that I know that's going to take time for me to get to a particular spot. But if you're not telling me I'm dope, who's going to tell me that I'm dope? Myself.
Yeah.
And we have to be okay with that. If you think that's overconfidence, great. If you think that's beating the imposter syndrome, great, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, when I'm editing the podcast, when I'm cutting a video because I think I have film skills and I don't, I'm just trying to, you know, I say, oh, I think this angle's cool. Nobody's encouraging me but me.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is the grind, that if you're looking for somebody to always pat you on the back, they're not always going to be there. So somebody has to, so I have to get it from somewhere. So what's the solution? Let me just think this out a little bit. So the solution is, wherever I can get it, you know, I take it at 1,000. If YouTube comments are giving me dope stuff as far as encouragement, and YouTube comments is usually the pit of the pits,
yeah,
I'm gonna take it, because you're not giving it to me. So I got to find it from somewhere. If somebody on Twitter who just came up and started watching or listening to our stuff and like, yo, that's dope, I'm hearting that. When I'm down, which happens, where do you think I'm gonna go get?
Yeah.
The YouTube comments that I starred that helped me that day, or the social, you know, it's not that difficult to understand, because most of the time we're solo.
Yeah.
So there are those things.
Yeah. And, you know, that kind of goes into people not understanding, you know, people who are not doing content creation. It goes back to what I said, like, people don't understand that process. You know, when you're sitting, you're doing those edits, you know, whether it's a video, a podcast, or it's a script, or, you know, you're uploading something on your website, they don't see like how many times you have to cut, edit, or stop, redo, or you just have to completely just walk away for a day or a week just because you can't do it. And it can be a lonely place, and the only thing you have motivating you more often than not, it's yourself. And
Right.
people don't understand that. I saw, I'm not going to name his name, but I saw a bigger content creator say that today, like he was taking some time away from social media and from content creation because he just, he was losing sight of who he was and feeling like he's not putting out the greatest content. It's like, it can be like that sometimes,
Right.
So it's a grind,
Right.
people.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind. And one thing that I've always been a loner to some degree. So that lone samurai, I love those movies and stuff like that, because there's a level of mental resilience that come with that, right? So you got your skills, you're the best samurai, but you go from town to town, and people are always wondering if they could take you and all that stuff, right? So there's those moments, and then you go through the process. Okay, I know that I need to connect with a human being from time to time, which is why they end up stopping at a particular town, because they need to find somebody to connect with. But that's only for a season. That's not all the time.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And speaking on the whole season thing, I think that's something that a lot of people, they struggle with, is knowing the category of a person. Is that person a lifetime person? Is that person seasonal? Is there a reason for meeting? Is there a lesson? I mean, there's always a lesson in the people you meet.
Absolutely.
And it goes both ways, and people coming into your life and you going into other people's life. And I think a lot of people try to put a seasonal person to a lifetime, or a lifetime person to a seasonal, and it's
a big mistake. And what happens with that is you get disappointed.
Yeah.
You probably cry, right? Because you believe that person was going to be in your life forever. And I've made that mistake where I took an inner circle, kind of like you got the 12 disciples. I've taken the 12 and I've taken somebody who was in the 12 and put him in the close 3. Big mistake, right? Where I should have evaluated that situation a little bit more and be like, hey, you just belong in the 12 as the group. You don't belong in the inner circle with the 3.
Yeah.
And I think that can ruin your growth. That can, I wouldn't say necessarily stifle, but it'll definitely slow it down if you take the wrong person and put them in the inner circle, because they just have so much in common with you. Just because they have games in common with you doesn't mean that they're the person that belongs in your inner circle. And I'm learning that lesson like right now, like this month. Okay.
What?
Yeah. Just because we have things in common don't mean you're in the inner circle. So now I have to be even more careful with the growth and with the people around me, right? Because the people you have around you are critical for your growth. And chickens can't hang out with eagles, man.
Can I steal that? That's a great saying.
You can't. Yeah, absolutely. You can't steal it. No, absolutely you can. No, they just can't. They just can't. We don't have anything in common. Chickens can't hang out with eagles. We have nothing in common.
Yeah.
You can't even fly, bro. Right?
It's true.
You can't even fly. So how can we hang out? How can we be on one accord? We can't be on one accord. And eagles don't even hang out together. Only in the beginning life stages of their process, they're together.
Yep.
And when they can't fly for whatever that season is, they go through the storm to figure it out again. So we are not even on the same plane, bro.
That's so true, man. That's just, and people, I hope you guys understand the layers of depth to that saying, because that's a gem, people. Write that down.
We're not on the same, man. We're not. And it's hard, bro, because you want people to be with you in certain things. And I think people take the fact that we're associated in the same groups, that we're at the same level. No.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just in the group because I'm lonely, but that don't mean like we're on the same level.
Yep. You're totally right about that.
Right. And I think people misunderstand the fact that, all these different groups, and whether that's Facebook or any other platform, that we're sitting out and we're hanging out in the same group, that we all have the same skill sets. No, we don't. Some people are just looking for connection because that's probably the only spot they'll get it. Now, they're not going to do anything crazy to themselves, like, cutting and stuff like that. And we have to pray for the people that's going through those things.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But some people are just in it because they just want somebody to say, hey, what's up? What's up? Chilling. What's going on with you? That's it. But outside of that, dude, I'm flying, bro.
Yeah. And, I have to apply that to like various situations that, groups and things out here that I deal with. And it's like, I have that same mentality. And some people say they feel like I'm dismissive. And English,
why you're dismissive? Can I? Because there's just certain things that you can't share because this is your platform, and you're still trying to make sure. I can say it because I'm not going to be here, next time. You're dismissive because your fuse is short, right? Your fuse is short because you can't bottle feed everybody.
Yeah,
you can't. I can't help everybody cross the street. I told you to take off the training wheels, bro.
Yeah.
But you don't want to take off the training wheels. So now I'm trying to go to the next level. Yeah, I can give out codes and review codes and give you emails of this guy, that guy, and stuff like that. But I'm beyond that. I'm trying to work with brands. Brands are paying for me to go places now, right? You can't say that. I can. I can say it for you.
Oh, man.
I can say it for you.
You're so right.
Your fuse is short. Fam, you got 11K. People are still trying to figure out how to upload a video on YouTube. Come on. That's why you can't say these things. I can't. They could be mad at me, bro. I have enough heat coming at me all the time, so it's cool. But that is the fact of the matter. The fact of the matter is there's just certain individuals that we just have to leave for the individuals who are going to help them cross the street and who's going to feed them. And that's not a bad thing. There's certain individuals who still need the training wheels, right? And as we have certain conversations with those individuals, right? And here's the grace. I got to give you hope, right? I'm not gonna, be too. I'm gonna be aggressive too, but I'm gonna just give you a little bit of hope. We know when to pull and push, right? Because we've seen enough. But yeah, dude, I understand. You're at a different level now. You're trying to make different decisions. You're married, right? Based on what I understand, right? Okay, so dude, there's just certain times where I can't be your mayday every 5 seconds on how Google, bro. I mean, dude, if I can Google to fix my oil pump for my burner in my house, you can Google on how to upload a video. But anyway, I can say these things because that's it's real. I mean, I'm not saying anything that we don't want to say.
No, it's so true because you could literally Google anything. Like a lot of people that tell me like, hey man, I wish I could get review codes. I wish I had the contacts. And I'm like, yo, how many sites are free that you can sign up for? There are PR sites. There are, you could just, if you're on social media.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's give them a quick 101. Okay. Because we got to give them hope too. Okay. Gonna give them hope. Gamespress.com, okay, is a website that you need to sign up for. Once you sign up for Gamespress.com, make sure you have an actual website email. So my email is andrew@mywebsite.com, right? That's my email. So if you don't have a @yourwebsite.com, you have no business signing up for Gamespress because they may deny your application. Just giving you a heads up. So if you try to do Gamespress, chances are if they don't see, a .com that is your personal, not a WordPress one that you bought, that you're paying for, chances are they're not going to accept your thing. So there's one option. Then you have Evolve PR, right? They're constantly sending stuff out. They want people, and they may accept your gmail.com. From what I understand, because I just spoke to one of the higher ups at Evolve, which is on the YouTube channel, about how people should approach him and his company as it relates to marketing and content creation and stuff like that. He said, I don't mind so much the Gmail. Just be honest with me and we can work together. So there you go. So Evolve PR, Gamespress.com. Those are quick options to get started. and just be honest with the companies, and you might get stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's also, on top of that, I need to piggyback on that. It's how you carry yourself online. And a lot of people think, and I've had a lot of content creators tell me like, oh, I just want to bash a game. I want to bash a company. I'm like, go ahead and do that and watch what happens, because you can quickly blacklist yourself. There's a way, and I know I said on previous podcasts, like, you can be critical and respectful. And a lot of people don't seem to get that. And it's like, sometimes I see it and I'm like, what are you doing? And then you're like, oh man, this company's not sending me a code anymore. They're not responding to my emails. Well, what did you do?
Right.
And
so the thing with that is sometimes we get the access too fast.
Yeah.
Right. Too soon. Like if, with the whole, all the good energy that we got from E3, if I got that last year, dude, I would have been feeling myself, bro. I would have been popping my collar. I would have been doing all this stuff. I'd be like, you see me, see what just happened. All that stuff. Right. If that happened last year, I'm glad it didn't happen last year and it happened this year, because my mindset is completely somewhere else. Right. And I think that if we get access or energy or cloud, call it what you want to call it, too soon before our time, we can mess it up.
Yeah.
It's like getting a dope car, too soon. Right. And I think that you don't know how to take care of it. You don't know how to manage it. You don't know how to help the next person with that energy. You don't know how to introduce somebody to somebody else with that energy, because all you're thinking about is yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're losing, because we have individuals, maybe, I don't know, maybe in the community that has a lot of energy, has a lot of clout, but yet they're only thinking about their brand. And that's great. For a season, maybe it's all thinking about you and getting, but after a while, you have to change it up, right? You have to. And I think, and that's what happened. So I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, great friend, hip hop gamer, right? Some of you have heard of him. He's a great friend of mine. Okay. And he said to me recently, so what do you want to do with this YouTube stuff? Because I see you trying to change up stuff and trying to create content. And I told him, this is what I told him. I said, I want to make sure that anything that I've learned in the last 10 years, I don't die with it. He was like, okay, I don't want to talk about like stuff like that. I'm like, but that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that I've learned in the last 10, last 5, I want to make sure that it's documented somewhere, either in a conversation or in a podcast or whatever, that the next person doesn't have to be struggling like we did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not being flown out a whole bunch of stuff. Like I hope that happens, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't have to start off wondering, is this super difficult? How is it? Like most of my equipment is sponsored. If you want to use the word sponsored in the context of people send you stuff, you don't have to return it, right? So if we're going to use the sponsored in that context, most of the stuff I have here was given to me by a company. But that took time.
Yep.
To get there. But you can get there. If you don't have the money up front to get all the stuff that you want to get, you can ask the company after you built, maybe 6 months, 8 months into your content creation process, and they see you grinding, they're going to want to send you stuff. And if they send you stuff, do right by them, right? Whether that's an unboxing or whatever. And then next thing you know, you'll be tripping over stuff that's at your spot. And then you have to start giving it away because you can only use one headset at a time. You know what I'm saying? So there is that.
Yep.
So, yeah, man.
And I like that you said that, because I feel like we're on the same wavelength when it comes to wanting to give back and help other people coming up, because I am truly of the mindset that there is more than enough to go around for everybody. And I've dealt with certain creators that are up there with a lot of clout that only think about their brand. But I'm also very grateful for the ones I've dealt with that have that same type of clout, that took the time out to say, hey, Mekel, this is what you need to do. I see you doing this. You can change up here. Here's a contact. Let me introduce you to some people. And like that little nudge goes a long way. And Absolutely. It's gone a long way in like my career as a content creator and where I'm going forward. And, my mindset, like in going to E3, that was my first E3 that I've ever been to. And I've had a lot of, other content creators I know, like, hey, man, I wish I could go. And I'm like, you can grow. You can go. You
Right.
can do this. Like, let me work with you. Let me help you. I see you're grinding. I see you putting in the effort. Let me show you this. Here's a site you can go to. This is something I can introduce you to. And I'm just a big believer in paying it forward.
Right.
That's
Yeah, but the thing with that is those things are all great, but I'm realizing now, and I'm sure you have too, is if they don't believe it, right? We can give them the website, give them the shortcut link to submit your application for press badge or whatever. We can give you all that, but we can't make you fill it out. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to want that.
Yeah.
Right. And get to a place where, if you believe that you need to be at this convention or event, then you have to follow through with the process. Right. Yep. And that's what it is. The only thing that separates us from individuals who are not doing is the follow up. Yeah. That's it. I'm just a product of the follow up, whether that's a company sending a new product, is whether I think the company is testing me to see if I'm real and I don't take offense to that, which so I love sermons, right? I'm a believer, right? I'm a Christian or whatever.
Same here.
And praise God, right? So I heard a sermon recently where it's just been ringing in my ear, right? The guy, the pastor, the preacher said something to the effect of, when an offense takes place, right? That's an event, right? But you being offended is a decision. Okay. So you can live your whole life without being offended. Yeah. Because being offended is a decision, right? So I'm like, that's really good. So I could say something, very aggressive to you personally, and it could be completely true or whatever, but then depending on the day or the week, you may take offense to it. But if someone said exactly the same thing, and you didn't take offense to it, then it's a decision of you're pretty much picking your spots on when to be offended, right? So I said something recently that rubbed some individuals the wrong way, but I realized that it was time to vet, right? It was the vetting process. And I think that as much as it hurt me to go through that process to realize that not everybody can be with you, that process needs to take place because not everybody can go, right? Yeah. And I think that it's hard for us because our heart is softer to a lot of things because of what God has done to us and through us, right? But at the same time, we still have to make sure that we're being honest to everybody that we come across. Yeah. And praying that the Holy Spirit guides us to say what we need to say with a certain energy, the certain tone, inflections, and all those things. So we have to vet out because not everybody can go. But we know for a fact that the blessings that we have to share because we have to plant the seeds, and we hope that the individuals. It's always the individuals you believe that is not going to do anything with it is the one that skyrockets, right? Yep. But we don't get to pick and choose, right? It'd be cool. Well, we don't get to pick and choose who's going to run. Yeah. And who's going to finish. So I think that's a constant battle that we have to deal with personally.
Yeah. And I when I think about that, it reminds me, I don't know if you're into wrestling or anything like that.
I used to watch it.
There's something that Triple H said like years ago. He said to CM Punk, he's like, he said sometimes I was thinking that, hey, that guy, he's got everything in books. He's going to be the next great superstar. And he's like, yep, that guy turns out to be nobody. And then I look at someone else and I don't think that guy's got it. And that guy turns out to be John Cena.
You don't know. Right? You don't know.
Yep. It really, you can only do so much, and knowing the limitations of what you can and cannot do, and the variables of whether someone's actually hungry for it, if they're going to really put all into it, hey, yeah, go for it. But what you said, that vetting process, man, I'm learning that hardcore right
Yeah,
now.
man. It needs to be done, man. It needs to be done, because where are we going? Not everybody can go. Like one of my favorite rappers, rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. I love, what he spoke about, because to me, I love motivational rap. I always have, whether that's a Tupac or Nipsey, any of those individuals that through their struggles, they found a way to overcome, right? I love those stories. And it's like, dude, not everybody can go where we're going. And we don't even know we don't even have the full picture of where we're going, but we know, this is a great ride.
Yes.
I don't know what's going to happen next week or next year. I mean, there's one of the things I posted early on Twitter today is like my bucket list is to visit like the Techland, the Bungies of the world, the Division and those studios, and create content with them by checking out all the individuals that work on some of the greatest experiences that we have, the cyberpunk experiences and all those things. Like I want to visit those studios, right? But a lot of it is funding, If they don't fly you out, those trips are expensive. If they have the budget and the marketing to fly you out, those trips are great. That's how that goes, right?
Yeah.
But we know that we have opportunities to have conversations with them, because when they centralize themselves at the conventions, it's great access, but you don't have access unless you have a press badge. You don't have a press badge unless you apply, right? So it's 50-50. It's not an automatic no. You'd be surprised how those individuals make a decision on who gets in and who doesn't get in. Sometimes it's who you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's who you know. As I'm thinking about it now, I have 1,600 on my Twitter. It's not about how many people are following me. If 3 or 4 of those individuals have access to like 80 of the companies that I want to talk to, I could have 4 or 5 followers, and they're the best of this industry that I need to have access to. So you can have your 25K, your 10K as your followers on Twitter or whatever. But if they're not individuals that are the ones that can open the doors, or if you're not even creating content so they can have access to your personality, so they could open the doors for you. Because YouTube is the gateway right now, as I'm realizing more now than ever. YouTube is the secret code. Okay.
Is it really?
Yeah, 11K, right? Because what's happening now is they see your stuff on YouTube. There's no gate for them to watch your link, right? Because it's harder for somebody. It's not harder, but whatever. To sign up, to subscribe to a podcast, to go to an episode number, to listen to it. It's some people don't want to do that. They barely want to leave a 5-star review on your iTunes or Apple Podcast, right?
So true. That's
So what I'm saying? So the gateway is to tell them, hey, would you like a piece of chicken? Right? Like they do at the mall. I don't know if they do that at the mall where you're at, but the Asian spots that I like to eat at, let me personalize it so you don't take offense, whoever is going to listen to this. The Asian spot that I go to the mall, they usually offer me a piece of a chicken, a sample. Right? And if I like the sample, it doesn't matter what the cost is, $6.99, $7.99, $8.99 for the plate and the combo with the bourbon chicken and the rice and the, what I'm saying, egg roll on the side with a drink. It doesn't matter because the sample got me in.
Yep.
Right? So if you're not even doing the sample, then how are they going to find you? Right? And I'm going to take this because I know some individuals that this conversation I was having with somebody, and I think they were still struggling with it. Is the sample, the chicken sample, hey, would you like a piece of chicken, is your clip on Twitter and Instagram. Because if you're not doing that, I'm not interested. And that's That's what it is. So when I see a clip on Instagram, well, let's just focus on Twitter real quick, and there's a 20-second clip of a thing with a link associated with it, I'm more inclined to buy in.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, you may not like Twitter, but there's just certain things. Twitter is a distribution platform, like IG, like YouTube, like the podcast, wherever you have it, Spotify and whatever. And we have to natively work with what the algorithm loves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got a piece of chicken. Okay. I'm going to give you a piece of chicken. I give you the piece of chicken. It's a 20-second clip or whatever. And then I tie in maybe some context to that clip on the bottom of that Twitter thing I'm about to send out to the world, whether I schedule it with Buffer or Hootsuite or whatever. I prep it, right? And I send that out. You see the clip. You watch the clip. You're like, oh, that's cool. He's dropping some gems. But the seed was planted more so than if it was just a link to a thing, a new video dash. We talked about, cyberpunk, blah, 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 but no picture, no video, no GIF, whatever, however you say it nowadays. That's not enticing enough. So your content could be brilliant on YouTube. I don't even know why I'm going there, but I'll go with it. So your content can be brilliant on YouTube, but it's trash to everybody else because nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
And that's offensive. What I just said is offensive, but don't be offended because at least I'm willing to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because right now, whoever you are, right, your content is trash to the world because nobody knows about it. So do a clip, take a time. You have KDN Live, KDN Live is a free video editor. You can go up in there, clip a 20-second vid cutter. That's free. You can cut 20 seconds, 30 seconds of your thing. Do the work. You don't know what's going to happen, but you have to be willing to put in that time. Don't be mad at us because we're doing it.
It's facts. Big facts, man. Man, it's So
how you doing today, man? You good?
I'm good.
You
bro.
straight?
You're dropping so many gems right now. I'm like
just saying, man.
But it's true, man. And this is the thing. Like, it's so when you try to get people to understand that, some people get it, and then sometimes people don't. And the thing I struggle with is that people that just don't get it, and it's just letting
Why don't
go.
you think they get it? What do you think it is? Jealousy, envy? What do you think it is? Is it laziness?
Can I go there?
all that? Okay, so let's go with the you're so lucky. I love that one. You're so lucky because I've recently had to tell some individuals on YouTube that I don't think I'm lucky. I don't think I'm lucky. I think the only thing that's happening right now, because we're watching all the Marvel movies leading up to Endgame. So right now we just finished Age of Ultron. Before that, we watched Winter Soldier, right? At the beginning of Winter Soldier, if you remember, Falcon was running around this thing, and then Captain America was running around this thing, okay? And every time he ran, he said, on your left, right? Lapped him again, on your left, et cetera, right? So if you remember that scene, what's happening now is we're just willing to do the work, and we're lapping you on your left, right?
Yeah.
Because we are taking the time to do what we believe is going to take us to the next level. Sometimes it's a book. It could be How to Win Friends and Influence People. It could be, a book like that, right? That could change the whole aspect of how you think about the next thing. It could be a James Altucher book, right? Whether that's on wealth or on people or some of the things that he's talked about, how he lost $1 million, gained it back like 4 or 5 times. It could be something like that. It could be Charlemagne. He has books on mental health and stuff like that, right? It could be a book. Maybe it's a podcast. Maybe it's sermons. I don't know. But the thing is, those tools are available for us, and we have to be diligent in making the playlists and stuff. I mean, you could be jealous. But you have to do something, right? The energy that you're using to be jealous, you could be using that energy to learn how to start your own, whatever you're trying to start, right? there's really no. Okay. So let's just talk about this real quick. I'm sure somebody's jealous that the thing that we did at E3 went viral. I don't know. So let's go with that real quick. So we had a clip that went viral. Okay. And it was a pure joy of what we saw based on the Cyberpunk thing. We loved it. We got excited about it. And people have been watching it a lot. But what are the odds of something going viral?
Exactly.
I don't know. But it happened. I don't know. It was a perfect so many things went into that, as I was sharing with somebody recently. The fact that it was a genuine energy of what we saw and believed. It was the fact that there were articles written that was bashing the game, right? It was a perfect opportunity for an account that has over 500,000 followers to retweet something that they believe that they were trying to capture with all the hard work that they've been putting in a game that they're trying to release by April. So many things went into that. So you're mad that we applied at E3. We got approved. We went. Okay. We lost sleep. We didn't have that interview or anything, and that ended up doing well. We got to where we needed to be on time to see the presentation. You're mad. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you should be mad about. Because there's the process. We had to fly there. We had to spend money to get on the plane. We had to spend money to find a place to sleep. We have to spend money to get food. But you're mad at, what are you mad at? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. So the odds of something lining up like that, the moon's perfectly aligning for something like that to go viral, is 1 in what? I don't know. But it happened because we've been working. We've been doing things, right? So envy, right? Envy. So there's a story in the Bible, whether you believe it or not, in terms of an account. I love the stories. There's an account where this guy named Nicodemus went to Jesus at night, right? So slid into his DMs, basically. Okay, talking about, yo, fam, what do you mean? What do you mean? How does this happen? Right? So instead of being envious, right? Slide in a DM and ask a question. Nobody said you couldn't slide in the DMs. If you find the email, send an email. Be like, fam, like, how is this? I like the YouTube comments that say, bro, you're so lucky. How did you do that? So, okay, I could easily stop that. You're so lucky and just, just check out. But the fact that you asked, how did it, be like, okay, well, for the last 10 years, I've been doing something, right? That has gotten me to a place where some people actually like me, right? To do some of the things that I've been able to do. Thank God, right? But I've been doing something. Where were you? Were you in the YouTube comments this whole time? In the last 10 years? You haven't done anything in the last 10 years. You've just been hanging in the YouTube comments. But you're going to be mad that Mekel got 11K. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. So the grind and the scheduling of the voice actors and all the people that are coming on the show, you can't be mad at me because I'm grinding. You can't be mad. I'm going to lap you on your left. That's just what it is. And you can't be mad at that. Like, you have the same tools that we have. And that's what makes me irritated and frustrated, is that you have the same tools. And if I don't have a particular process, I look at somebody light years ahead of me and be like, bro, I think I need a lifeline, bros. Can you send me that email real quick? Because I don't have access to that person yet. Or make the introduction, please. And some people are willing to do that. But at least start somewhere. So you can't say, oh, you're so lucky, when you haven't even done a podcast yet. And I think that's what they don't want to hear. They want to be saying, oh, you can do it. It's going to work out for you. Or it's not going to work out for you until you start doing it. I can guarantee you, if you start creating something with your YouTube channel right now, almost guarantee you, and you surround a content about, let's say, the 3-tongue lady in Cyberpunk, and you do an exhaustive research about that particular topic with Cassia, the art director for Cyberpunk, I believe that's her name, in relation to that whole three-tongue lady in Cyberpunk that's inspired by Total Recall and stuff like that. And you go exhaustive on that one thing. Okay, you do a YouTube video, you do a podcast about it, and then you figure out a way to share it with everybody on the socials. You don't think Cyberpunk is going to get attention to that? You don't think they're going to get word of that? Of course they are, because the marketing train for their game right now is on. So we're not lucky. We're blessed.
Definitely blessed.
But we're not lucky. There's a process here. There's a mastermind that goes behind who's doing what and who's helping, who's assisting, who's providing support, who's praying. There's a system.
Yep. You know, it's like, man, I'm really enjoying this conversation. No, because it's like, okay,
they're gonna hate me after this, bro. If they hated me before, that's a wrap, dude.
They're gonna hate you. They're gonna hate me, because it's like, and I tell my wife this all the time. I say it's a really lonely place when you're a content creator, and you're grinding, and you're doing all this and you're doing all that. You're putting all the hard work in. You're making the contacts. You're doing the podcast. You're doing the videos. You're getting your B-roll. You're getting all this stuff coming in, and all people can say to you is, "You're so lucky." Oh, I'm so jealous of you. Or the one I'm getting the most lately is, "I hate you, Mekel. You getting all," and they say it in a joking way, but I'm like, you're not really joking.
They're not joking.
It's a lonely place, and sometimes, like, I feel like I'm a bit moody, and I'm not trying to be moody,
right? But
it's like, I go to work, I come home, I do my thing with my family, and I'm like, that's it. That I don't want to deal with anyone else. And it's especially out here. I've gotten a lot of, what can you do for me? Or the most recent one.
That's what they ask directly?
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of that. I've gotten situations where there's someone I interviewed that runs a company out here, and they don't like the quality of my podcast. They don't like the quality of my video reviews. So they told me it sucks, and that they would do videos for me. They can make me a new intro because my intro is jarring, and they would charge me $300 for that, for a minute or 30-second intro. And then they're like, "Oh, you can use our equipment, but you need to be up under our brand." And then they're talking about how great their stuff is. So I go to their YouTube channel, and I look at their stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got this big model person, Suki Yuki, whatever her name is." And then I look at it, yeah, camera quality is good, cutaways, panaways, all that's really good. I look at the views, look at the engagement. I'm like, yeah. I'm running into a lot of that out here. And
so it's it's interesting, because basically it's we want you to work for us because we know you can get the engagement. That's really what that is, right? And I think that like when I think about the lack of skill sets that I have as it relates to filming and B-roll and all those things, I know that's not my strong suit. But what I can do, though, is be prepared anywhere, and I'm ready to record a podcast anywhere because I usually have my equipment with me. I can do that, right? I can set up my phone, as I'm sure you've heard. Our field production thing is pretty simple: tripod, phone, audio adapter, mics, XLR cables, and then we're ready to go, right? And I think getting that content when that person is available right then and there, and your window is short, you can't go home.
Yeah.
and get all your equipment, DSLRs and fancy gimbals and stuff like that, right? We we we're I'm looking for the right word here. We like the fact that we don't have to depend on all those things to be effective. So I'll say that. Okay. So when we're able to get conversations in a moment, no one has ever asked me or Daniela, wow, so you recorded that on a phone or a DSLR, or nobody asked that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can get at least 1080p on a phone, and some phones do 4K now. It's just too much data. I don't know if I want to do 4K for an interview. Maybe I'll test it out to see how big the file is, but we don't have to do that. But getting the content and making sure it's accessible for individuals that's not necessarily tied to a paywall, but a whole bunch of gates before you get to the content is one of the things that we pride ourselves in. I don't do a lot of editing right now. I used to with the podcast. So the podcast, the only thing I do now is take out the silence, and then we trim the top, and then the front and the back, and then sometimes I'll do an intro. Sometimes I'll just let it go right into the conversation, like the last one. The last one, there was no music. It just went right into the conversation, right? And I think that the reason I do that sometimes is to change somewhat of the format, because we're so used to like routines and stuff. And a lot of times, even when we're dealing with people, we always prep them to give them a message, right? I love you, but then you give it, right? We don't get right to the point. It's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right. The music is cool. The intro is cool. Fading into the intro, right? Intro's there. We fade in. We come in. We talk. We do. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another blah blah blah. We do that, right? That's beautiful. Then okay, we'll be right back after this. We give you a commercial in between. Boom, 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 and then we do the outro at the end. That's great. I don't have anything against it. Sometimes I just decide not to do that. But it doesn't take away from the content. I think that if once you have information, whether it's audio production, video production, and you know how to do it, or you know the standard to do it well, and you decide not to do it, that's a disservice to the listener and the viewer.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you don't know, but if you know and you just don't do, if you know 2 tracks of recording is a good option, and you know how to do that and you're not doing it, okay. But if you don't know how to do it, but you've been able to use other avenues to get your audio correct, that's great. You're in the process, right? Maybe what's 2 track, what's double ender and all that. Somebody records a local track on their end, track 1, and then somebody records another track on their end, track 2. Then you take those 2 tracks, you open Audacity, you line them up, you sync them. Okay, and then it sounds beautiful, and then you export it either 64K mono, which is ideal. You could do 96 if you want. It's just a bigger file. 128 you could do. That's a bigger file. But 64K mono, ideal. If the audio is pristine to start with, no one can tell if it's 64K mono versus 128, because the pristine audio was already there to begin with. It's crappy audio trying to make it sound good at 64K mono, that's bad. But if it's pristine, CD quality, pure in the beginning, when you got the 2 tracks and you make it 64K mono, that's gonna sound just fine. So all those things is just things that we're able to learn along the way, and just go with it.
Yeah. And that that makes me want to ask you about equipment and software. So for podcasting, I really want to know, like, what software equipment, what software do you recommend, and then what equipment do you recommend, like USB mics or XLRs? What are the pros and cons to either?
Okay, so this is a person just starting out.
Yeah.
Okay, so just starting out, I would say learn Audacity, which is the audio software. Audacity is great because Audacity lures you to learn how the things work And then when you decide to upgrade to like Audition or any of those other platforms or software, like Hindenburg is good, right? When you start updating to paid versions, they just make the things that you learn in Audacity easier to do with presets and push buttons, right? Audacity makes you learn why you're doing what you're doing, right? Truncating silence on a file, Audacity has a preset for that, but an Adobe Audition makes it so much easier with, you know, podcasting presets and sounding like a broadcaster preset and all that other stuff, right? Which is what you're paying for. So I would say for the person who's starting tomorrow, download Audacity for your platform, whatever that is, you know, Windows or Apple or whatever, and then just start playing around with it, you know. So for microphones, if I knew what I knew today, 10 years ago, I would be using either a Samson Q2U, which is in the tools thing I was talking about on YouTube, or the ATR 2100. Right, ATR 2100 is what I use right now. If this was my mic 10 years ago, I would not have gone through like 8 or 9 mics already. This would be it. This would be either this one or the Samson Q2U. They both have XLR. They both have USB. So right now, it's USB powered. Right now, I don't move this one for the field because the audio adapter that we use for field production allows me to put XLR mics, which I have 2 XLR mics that I can plug into that. But at home, streaming, this is the mic, ATR 2100, plugged in directly to the PC right now. And if I need XLR, I can plug in an XLR. So it does both. And I would not, if I knew that 10 years ago, this would still be my mic.
That quality is crisp.
Appreciate it, man. This is it. It's a great mic. It's a great mic. So I would recommend this one. It's 60 to $70 usually, versus the other mics that you're seeing are anywhere from 99 to 179. I think that's too much. If you have to pay for a mic that grows with the production of anything that you're doing, I would say the Samsung Q2U, which is about $39, $39.99 to $49.99, or the ATR 2100, which is $49.99 to $69.99. And I think that you get 2 of any one of these, you're good to go because it does both. So you don't have to rebuy. You don't have to just buy a USB mic and then later buy XLR because they're nimble like that way, universal if you want to say. And then if you decide to do field production stuff with like an audio adapter setup that you want to record at different spots, be very mobile, I would go with the recommendation that Daniela said, which is the X8500 by Behringer. They're $20 a piece. Okay, and that mic is amazing for $20. It's amazing. $20 mic. Sounds great. It's very compatible. Not compatible. Comparable to like a SM58, which is $100. The X8500 is $20 a piece. Okay, and that's a XLR only, and it's beautiful. But if you're, you know, versatile, one mic right now until you get a bigger budget, Samsung Q2U or ATR 2100.
Okay, so what if you are a little bit more experienced with podcasting? Like, if you were to give me advice, because I'm looking to upgrade,
I would give you the same advice. I wouldn't change it because I think sometimes having a bigger budget and being able to buy things that are considered more expensive or more sought after is not usually the solution for all of us, right? And for you growing, I would give the same advice. I would say get you, for the budget that you would pay for like big rigs and huge consoles and sliders and all that stuff, and you're looking for 2 to 3 mics that you're going to use locally, I would still recommend the same mics.
Okay.
I would still recommend the same mics. There are other options that are out there that are either $100 a piece or maybe 150, but I don't see how that makes the production better. And let me think this out a little bit. The construction of the mics at the very foundation of most of the mics that were used, they're not that much different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can't tell the difference between a Heil PR40 and an ATR 2100 unless your ear is tuned for that. You can tell the difference. So if I never mentioned what this mic was, it could have been anything. Right? So if it's anything, then it's pretty much, dude, this room is not soundproof. And I could have I have two speakers back here. The brown ones that were the brown finish, the old school ones, right? So these two speakers, I'll have them on while I'm streaming sometimes. Like we did Guitar Hero recently, and I was streaming. I had those speakers playing music, and I could hear them, and they were loud enough, but they didn't come on the mic. So the rooms don't necessarily have to be sound treated and stuff like that. If you have the budgets to do that, great, right? But there are filters that help with those things. OBS filters is a thing, right? You can add. I think it's called Real. I'll add that on the document where these filters that you add into the OBS, which you can help sound treat the sound, the base of the sound. For instance, if there's fan noise here, right, I could tell the software there's noise here, so it doesn't get here. So any noise that's here will never reach the mic because I've treated the software to acknowledge that there's sound here, right? The sound floor, as they call it. So when there's a whole bunch of noise in the house, that's when I tune the software to make sure that all that noise never reaches the mic. So they could be yelling out here. They could be watching a Netflix show outside in the living room. It'll never get there because I've already treated the software for that. So this mic by itself, without OBS, without any software, doesn't really get a lot of noise into this. The fan on this laptop right now is crazy. I hear it, but I doubt that it's coming through here.
I don't hear anything.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this room is not sound treated, but the mic is good enough to do the basic of that. So now if we're talking about, you don't even hear the fan noise that's like arms reach right here. I could touch, this is my laptop right here. I could touch it, right? Arms reach right here. The fan is like, sounds like a plane's about to take off, and you don't hear that. And we don't have OBS running because I'm not using OBS or anything. And it's not coming on this. That's the kind of stuff that you want. You want a mic that's able to do that blocking out. Unless you're directly in front of this mic, then whatever noise is around, it's not going to get. My wife came in here and gave me water because I texted her. That's what I did. So for you wondering, what is he doing? How is he on his phone and he's on a podcast? He's a guest on a podcast. He's on his phone. You know what I was doing? I wrote to my wife, need water. She came in here. You saw it.
Yeah.
Shook my head. That's what happened. Okay. That's what happened. Right. But you didn't hear any discourse that took place with that because certain mics don't really need that.
Do you have an Amazon affiliate link I can go and buy this from?
Yeah. I'll throw one in the doc.
Okay.
I'll throw it in the doc because I want to make sure that doc is as active as possible. Because right out, what I'm doing right now is all the bookmarks that I had on my my Brave browser. Brave is like a Google Chrome, but it's like a more secure browser. That's the one I use. I'll probably throw that on there too. I really like it. I'm making sure that that document is as active as possible. Those mics are in there, but I don't have hot links to them yet. So I'm probably going to do the hot links post podcast. But yeah.
Okay. Definitely get that to me because I think it's time for me to make that purchase.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good. It's good. I'll put both of them in there and then you decide, based on what you see, which one you want to check out.
Dope. Other thing I was going to ask you is like podcasting platforms, like a hosting site. What do you recommend? Because I initially was using Shout Engine, but then I actually got an invite from Podcast One to use Launchpad DM. Right. So I actually migrated over to that, which that was a pain from Shout Engine. But Launchpad DM has given me options that Shout Engine didn't. Like I can put in, co-hosts, I can put in guests, their names, their links, and I'm like, man, this is and they actually promote my podcast, which Shout Engine didn't do that at all. But what do you recommend?
Okay. Do you like where you are?
So far, it's good, but
Okay.
I wonder if there's something I can do that's better.
Okay. So now we don't get any promotion from Libsyn unless we reply to their Friday tweets, promote the tar out of yourself that they usually do on Fridays, and then we can promote our latest episodes. Because Libsyn is really an audio host only, right? So any hot links that come from there would be anything that we put on a website that links a particular link of our thing. So they're just a hosting company on. They're very good at that, which is why I decided to use them. So going from Blog Talk Radio, which was a turnkey solution, I could receive calls and all that stuff, and all those features were great. I didn't have to necessarily edit the audio, but once I decided to use Libsyn, I have to edit audio because I'm physically uploading the MP3 to their service, which the way it's set up for our blog now, it creates like a draft of that. And then all I have to do is just update the information, and then they'll have a WordPress, it's not a WordPress, a play button, because I have one of those plugins, right? So it has all the stuff built in. So as an audio host only, and you're doing everything else, I'd say Libsyn is absolutely fantastic in what they do. I would recommend that if you weren't using anything else, right? So they don't do any promotion for us, but what they do well is if there's any upcoming destination platforms that they're going to add, and you're in contact with the VP of podcasting, which I can give you the email for Rob, they let you know what's coming, and they ask, hey, do you want to be in this beta of this thing, this new destination platform coming? So like when Spotify was actually opening up their gates to add more people in, I was already in contact with Rob, and Rob was like, hey, they're adding more individuals. You're in the batch. We'll keep you posted on if you're accepted or not. So we are one of the groups, the initial groups of batches that were put in for Spotify to get our thing on Spotify. So I like that. I've met Rob. He's great. And I think Rob Greenlee, who used to be on Spreaker, now works with Libsyn. So you got giants who used to work on Microsoft stuff, Zune and all that stuff, who went to Spreaker, spent a lot of time there, who Rob Greenlee now is with Libsyn. So all that experience is at Libsyn. That Rob is at Libsyn. Rob, the VP of podcasting, the other Rob is at Libsyn. LC Escobar, the front face, if you want to say that, of community management, is at Libsyn. So I'm hanging out there because there's a lot of wisdom and years in the industry at that spot. Okay, there's other platforms that do great. I'm not saying anything about them because I don't know their flow, which is why I specifically asked, if you're happy where you are, then clap your hands. No, I didn't say that. But if it works for you, great. But if you're looking for, it's more work to do Libsyn, but the history of their expertise is a lot of years. Rob Greenlee, Rob, the VP of podcasting, LC Escobar, and what's his name? Dave Jackson from the School of Podcasting. He's there. It's a lot of podcasting experience right there.
Okay. All right. So shifting gears, I definitely want to ask you, in the years that you've been podcasting, you've been, doing game journalism and tech journalism, like, how does it feel? Like, how is it for the audience that may not understand? What is it like to work with the game and tech industry?
Okay, it's challenging at first when you don't have any contacts. It's challenging at first because you're building relationships. So I think the best thing that somebody can do for themselves is really start investing their time and their ear to podcasts that are improv based, comedy based, sociology based, anthropology based, right? Any of those kind of podcasts that are not necessarily your direct industry will help you deal with people. And if you can, listen to all the shows that you listen to at 2x, because you have an advantage, because you're always ahead of the conversation, because you trained your mind to listen at 2x. And I think if you haven't done that yet, start doing that, because you'll notice that your ability to flow in and out of conversations is almost seamless, because everybody kind of talks slow. That's not offensive. Don't take offense to that. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're listening to things at 2x on a regular basis. So I would say invest in it. It is frustrating at times. Direct answer to your question. It is joyful at times. And I think that we can set that temperature for it based on who we decide to interact with. If someone's toxic, cut them off. If someone is bringing you down every time you look at your feed because they're on your timeline, mute them. Okay. If you don't need them for any particular thing, as far as information and stuff like that, unfollow them, whatever the case might be. So you have to train yourself and allow yourself to take a stance on what you believe in. Right. And I think what's happening now for me is that I'm being more vocal about what I believe in. And a lot of it rub people the wrong way. That's what's happening real time this year, mostly. Right. Because people know me personally. They can say certain things, and I have to be careful how I address them on social, because they're my friends, right? So I can't hit back at my friends on social, because I could easily call them and then hash something out, especially if it was a truth I wasn't ready to hear, and things like that. So the industry is really small. It's like a small village of maybe 20 to 100 people that all know each other, all know their names, all know their families' names. They've probably been on vacation together. So you say something crazy to one person that's on the PR industry, the person 5 houses down will know before sundown. That's how it is. So you have to be careful. You have to watch, how you say things. You have to watch your context. You have to be mindful of who you're dealing with. Like even today, was it today? Let me see if I want to. Oh yeah, even today, there's an exec that hit me up, and he's very high in the gaming industry, and in my eyes, and what I've heard some people talk about it. The fact that he hit me up randomly as an exec, like suit and tie guy, I'm like, why he hit me up? Like, dude, But I'm honored by that he would want to have a conversation with me about stuff like that. And people talk, man. If your podcast is great, is getting waves, people are listening, people talk. They won't tell you that it's great. That's rare. That's a 1% or 2%. But you just have to carry yourself in a way that you'd want to be treated, right? If you want to have friends, show yourself friendly. And I think if you really are genuine about that towards anybody you meet, and I think Daniela talked about the thing that happened with her when she was trying to play Final Fantasy with Monica. I remember she was having that conversation. I remember exactly who she was, and she remembered who I was before I even got to the desk. So great memory. The people and on the PR side, the gatekeepers, they have great memory. If you apologize, and that's the other thing too, the other side I want to think about it. If you did something crazy that, was out of line or whatever, and you felt it was out of line and crazy, address it then, because that could be your saving grace for the next time, because that same PR person may be represented for another company a year or two from now. And that next level could be something that you wanted, but because you said something slick to this person here, let's you just give a name, Jane, because you were slick to Jane when she worked at this company. Now she works at another company that's about to get a dope product out that you may want. Let's say it's a dope router, and you feel like you're due for a new router. You're with your entitled self, right? And then Jane is representing this company, but you said something crazy to Jane, and you didn't address it in a moment, and you knew it was wrong. right? So now what happens? Jane have already spoken to like 6 or 7 other companies that are in the same concourse, if you want to say that, or same, numbers, 300 to 500 for that particular convention. She already spoke to all of them, be like, this guy is crazy. I don't like him. And if Jane don't like you, nobody likes you. And that's how it works. So now you have to build back. Now you're blacklisted from pretty much most of the companies that you enjoy talking about or even working with. And so you're managing. You got to be like water, like Bruce Lee said, man. You just have to be a nice person, right? And if you're not a nice person, find out what it takes. You need self-awareness. The best way to get self-awareness is to ask people who really know you what you're like.
Yeah.
That's the best way. And most people won't do it because of their own insecurities. And I've tried this on Facebook because I like A/B testing these things. One time, maybe 2-3 years ago, I asked people on Facebook, be honest, tell me when you think of me, cousin, friend, whatever, brother, what am I like? Hit the comments. Let me know. Some people, shared some things. I'm like, that's true. I need to work on that. And stuff like that. But if you can't do that, then you have a false view of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not self-aware, right? If you're grumpy before your coffee and you don't know that, and someone told you that, but you still haven't received the fact that you're grumpy before your coffee, or you get hangry when you're hungry, and you haven't really acknowledged those things, yeah, that does happen. You're right. If you're not at a place where people tell you stuff about yourself and you're like, that's true, right? Then you're not self-aware, bro. You're not. Yep. And I think once you get to those things and you start knowing who you are as a person, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, as it relates to working the game journalism, the tech side of things. Most of the time I do only get things I love to talk about. It's easy to review and unbox those.
Right.
Obviously. I'm not going to get something crazy that I don't like. Right?
Dude,
it's not going to happen.
So much. People are like, it seems like you only review things you like.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's what I do. Why would I get something I didn't like? That would be a disservice to you. You want me to fake it? Like I really enjoy a headset that has a band that falls apart, that the company tried to sell it to me. They were telling me that it was leather, but it was leatherette. Come on. Like you don't want me to sell you. And then now you're being inauthentic because you said that. No, come on. Well, you want me to be honest? So yeah, most of the companies that I am in contact with, they're the same companies probably in the last 2 to 3 years. Why do they keep sending me stuff? Because they like what we do. And they like that the fact that we're honest. And like you said, we'll be critical, but we'll be respectful on how we talk about their stuff, right? And those are the companies that show me love. And there's one story, if you think, because a lot of people think that once we make a relationship with a company, the next day they send you stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say the name of the company to protect the guilty, right? And protect me. Right? But there was one particular company, I'll say years ago, so because I want to make sure that the context is not close to me. Years ago, okay, once upon a time, there was a company that I was reaching out to, okay? And I think it took me about 2 years emailing them, trying to contact them, like a solid 2 years before I ever saw one product from them. Okay. It was a company I really wanted to work with. 2 years is a long time. You think about 2 years, some people have babies in 2 years. Some people, change jobs in 2 years. Some people, obviously age, right? Age was added to you, right? But it took me 2 years to finally get this company to be like, hey, we see what you're doing. We're going to start sending you stuff. 2 years. And ever since then, nonstop. It's like a, it's like a flood right now, nonstop with this particular company. I ain't gonna name no names. Not doing that, but it's nonstop. Okay, so there's those serendipities. Let's talk about serendipities as it relates to the gaming and tech stuff. A lot of parties that we've gotten into, access to those parties we didn't have, or VIP, different things like that. But because we've worked with certain companies in the last couple of years, they remembered our faces. They remember the content that we posted on YouTube or the podcast that we sent them after the content was up. Doesn't mean that the PR company goes out to search for it. It'd be in your best interest to send them the links, the YouTube links, those links that you did for them directly to them, so they have it. They could say, hey, they covered it like they said they were going to cover it. Check them off the box. They did what they were supposed to do. So a lot of the parties and the mixers, if you will, you're VIP, bro. You get there, okay, and they recognize that you've done work with them before. They tell you to hold on, and then in a couple of minutes they get you the special bracelet. Okay, the special bracelet is the one that everybody gets mad because it's slow motion for them watching that special bracelet go on your arm and not theirs because they have to wait online. But they could look and say, well, who is he and why does he get a bracelet? But you don't know what I've done in the last couple of years. You don't know how Jane knows me. So I get a special bracelet. That makes me VIP. I've covered this company for the last 3 to 4 years. I've sent them the links whenever my content was up. Every time they came out with a new product, we mentioned it on the show or YouTube or online. We retweeted their tweets when they put it out. Where were you, YouTube commenter? You can't be VIP. And that's how it works. So it's a combination of the highs, the lows, and sometimes, the question marks, when we're trying to go to the next level and what that means for us. Because our next level and success, even in any industry, whether it's this one or any, is subjective, right? I believe I'm successful now more than ever because I'm giving back to individuals in a way that I've always wanted to. And it's somewhat filtered and unfiltered at the same time, but I want to make sure that I leave it all on the line, so you can at least say, well, at least he was honest.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's all I want. So it has its highs and lows, but it's great. I mean, we get to do what we love, man. It's amazing. How could you not like this? How could you not like this?
I hope you guys listening and watching, when this comes out, you are taking notes of absolute gems. The diamonds, the sapphires.
It's fun. This is great. Why would you want to do this? Like, we get to share, our hearts with people, man. You know what I mean? And then I'm fully aware that there are different cultures that receive information differently, right? Some information aren't easily entreated, right? So then we have to say things multiple times different ways to capture the hearts of different individuals. Like I'm fully aware that Hawaii is a familial type of culture, right? Humble people, right? But at the same time, you could be humble, but being humble and not moving is not going to get you any progress.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You can't look at the next man who's, Hawaii's #1 podcast and wonder how he got there through. There's been pain that he hasn't spoken about. It's probably pain with his relationship with his wife. There's been pain with trying to figure out himself. There's been pain trying to figure out, I don't want to be at this job right now because they're killing me. I'd rather be at home creating content. There's been pain associated with this. We didn't just, it's not always roses all the time. But, at least at this point, I could say, if the temperature is right with my wife and my family and my daughter, whatever the case might be, my vibe and creative content is going to be different. Me shooting somebody in the face and Destiny is going to be different, right? Me doing an uppercut at somebody, that's going to be different because everything is right. At least in this moment, I know it's right at home, right? So my focus is going to be different. So we have to make sure that and any platform that we get, you know, like Gary Vee always says, he was like, dude, if you tell me that the podcast I'm going to be on, only 10 people are going to listen, I'm still showing up, because that 10 person is the next Cena.
Yeah.
You got to show up, man. And that's what we want to do. We just want to show up and give what we have. And I know, be like, at the end of this, I don't like him. Fine. You don't have to like me. But did I tell you the truth, though?
Man. I feel like, and I'm completely respecting your time, dude. I feel like we could talk for hours.
How much time you want to go? Let me see.
We've been going.
We can go for another 30. What you want? What you want to hit? Come on, give me some stuff, man. What do you got?
Okay. All right. So, this is one thing I wanted to touch on. Like when it comes to like content creation, YouTube. When I deal with a lot of other content creators, like smaller and sometimes surprisingly even bigger channels, they will tell me that they think it's more important that they have subs instead of relationships with companies than the other way around. I approach it this way, where, you know, like you said earlier, like we're trying to work with brands. I want, like, and I've made this my approach going about YouTube differently. I work with brands and companies that I'm interested in, that I actually believe in, and however that works, my channel, my content gets a machine behind it versus the grind of pumping out 5 videos a day, trying to, you know, hit the algorithm, trying to do that. I've done that before. And like when I talk to some content creators, I'm like, dude, work with, you know, try and work with this company, try to become friends with that PR person. You know, like for instance, I got a code for a game that I actually was, before I even could send an email out to them, I got a DM like, hey man, would you like to review this game? It's like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, let me know when you're done with it. We'll push it.
I like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that the success of YouTube, even as I'm learning it now, because I'm watching everything, YouTube Creator Academy, I'm in there. I'm taking notes. I'm 101 right now, and I'm in there. Even though we got some good traction from CD Projekt on some of the stuff that we did, and that video is probably tracking to hit at least 10K before, I would say, the end of August, because I think it's like 80 or 8,900 right now. That is probably my second most, my second video as far as impressions is concerned. But that was because, like you said, a company pushed it, and people posted it on Reddit, right? And once it hit Reddit, which is like the face of the internet, from what I hear, then everyone started going to that and really, you know, showing the stuff. So I think that it works both ways. And I think depending on the individual, whether they want a brand to push the particular content once they put it out, because sometimes, to me, I think that a lot of stuff that we do is advertisement for the brand, right? Case in point, LF Gaming, the chair company. I saw them at E3. I did a video with the CEO and founder. She was amazing. And after I did that video, I would love that video to turn into something more than just a video, but it may not happen. But that video is probably the best video that showcases the president and CEO of the company talking about their products. And recently they pushed it out on Twitter on a random Tuesday at 2:00. I wasn't expecting that. I never asked them to do that. So you never know what's going to happen with that piece of content that you create, right? So was that a success? I think so, because they didn't have to say, hey, want to know, it was a commercial for them, basically. Want to know what LF Gaming chairs are about? Hey, why don't you watch that video with Uriah at blah, blah, blah. And then they put the YouTube link in on their Twitter to their 9,500, whatever they have, followers for the social. I didn't know they were going to do that. Right? So you don't know. But the fact that the stuff is there and the link to that content was already in their hands, they can do whatever they want to do with it, right? And I think that's a success in and of itself. But if subs are your I'm going to be honest, I want subs right now. Okay, and here's why. I'm going to explain. Because subs to me right now allows me to get to a point where my videos can get monetized, right? There is that. We all want that. I'm just going to be honest. I want that right now because I know there's a certain amount of minutes that needs to be watched on my channel. There's a certain amount of subs. I think it's like 1,000 and then it's like a 4,000 minutes or something like that. And that will get my stuff reviewed for the monetization. There's that, right? I would love that. I would love to get 10K. Why 10K? That's an interesting number, Andrew. Yeah, it is an interesting number. I'm going to tell you why. Because 10K gives me a studio space every time I go to the city, so I don't have to record anywhere. I can record at YouTube space in New York City anytime I need it. So I want 10K, right? So I want 1K for the monetization. I want 10K. But these are the things that I believe will come, right? But you have to have goals. If you don't share them, ain't nobody gonna help you get there, right? So although I can record anywhere in the street, in front of a hotel, at a coffee shop and stuff like that, I love that. But there's just something special about being at a YouTube space where your background is a YouTube banner at a YouTube space in any city, major city that has a YouTube studio. I want that, right? So I think success as it relates to those things are different for everybody, right? It's definitely subjective. So if you want to work with a brand, great. Work with a brand if you have the opportunity. If you believe that subs are your thing, that's cool. Work on getting the subs. But there's an effort that still needs to go there. You still need to produce, right? And the only way that people will know that you have stuff out is the more stuff you put out. Going back to the chicken stuff that we talked about earlier with the samples, if nobody knows you exist, then those things are not going to happen. So they're all connected.
Yeah. Okay. And there's this other idea that I've run into frequently where smaller channels think that they, like, case in point, I'll use this as an example. And this is not throwing shade, but I know a lot of people that follow Spawn Wave and Spawncast, and their aspiration, their goal is, I'll grow if I'm on that platform, if I get invited to the show, or if I'm cool with those content creators. And typically for like Spawn Wave and a lot of other within his group, you have to not only be subscribed to their channel, but you need to you gotta pay into their Patreon and their, you gotta do the super chat or wherever the monthly thing is on YouTube, just to get into their Discord and just for them to publicly acknowledge you. Morally, I have a bit of an issue with that on a moral level, but on a business level, okay, I get it. But like when I talk to people that do all that, and they're like, man, I hope that person notices me. I've gotten frustrated with some people because I'm like, look, why do you need them to validate you?
Right.
Why can't you build up your own thing? And if they ever see you and they're like, hey, I'd like to work with you, versus I need to kiss up to them, I need to pay them, I need to do this. Like, I don't know.
Okay, I struggle with that in the beginning, and I think that it ties with the conversation that we're having before about self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that in the beginning, when I first started a podcast in 2009, one of the things I really wanted was for the individuals that I considered my heroes in the podcasting space to recognize that I even existed. Okay. And the only way that I can get that done is either to invite them on the show or to talk about them and tag them that they actually see those conversations. So I get that. But that didn't cost me anything except time. Right. So there's a time that gets allocated for that kind of attention seeking things. That could be an insecurity thing. I don't know. That's something that would be that should be evaluated on a case by case basis. But once you build your content portfolio at a certain place, people just can't deny who you are anymore.
Yeah.
They can't, because now every time they see you, it's a reminder of what they're not doing for themselves. Okay, so I think that only thing that you can do at this point is to recognize that you have your own superpowers too. Like, I was just having this conversation with my daughter about who has a superpower, right? So we have Vision, right? You have Thanos, you have Captain America, you have Thor, and you have all those characters, right? And then and I said, so what's Captain America's superpower? And she was like, oh, he's strong, he's, you know, specimen and stuff like that. I said, but what's his superpower though? That's cool. A lot of people are strong. I don't, maybe that's super, but I don't really think it's that super. And she wasn't really understanding what I was getting to. I said his real superpower is his heart, because remember, out of all the individuals that they wanted to run the test on, they wanted to run the test on someone who jumped on a grenade and didn't even care if they died or not. He was worthy of that test that got him to be the best specimen that the world has ever seen, to the point where Thor was concerned that he would move the hammer where they were doing the hammer test, who can pick it up outside of Vision, if you know watch those things. So I think that is really, who are you? Do you even know yet? Right? And I think that, you know, a lot of the content we create in the beginning is really trying to find ourselves, right? And documenting, like, what does this mean to us? And then once we found our voice, I think, what does that mean, finding your voice? I didn't find mine until probably episode 90 of the show, almost at 100, where I recognized, like, this is what value means to me. This is what impact means to me. That didn't happen until around episode 90 and 100. My sister didn't get on board on what this whole thing was about until 93. So think about it, from 1 to 93, my sister didn't get it. But I don't blame her, because podcasting was still tracking to be something even more. Now, everybody, whether you're a basketball player, an NBA star, or whatever, everybody has a podcast, right? Danny Green has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So everybody, right? So I think now it's a form of documentation. I think trying to get individuals to pay to notice you it could be a cry for help. I don't know, but you have to. There's passions that you have. What are you passionate about? Do some content around that, and that brings you joy. Keep doing that. And it's a hard place to try to pull people away from that, because they think that that's value to them, being in close proximity to someone like that. But the thing is, if you're not buying coffee for them, or hearing the conversations that they're having about the big picture, or execution, or marketing, or advertising, and if you're not the person that's that close by with the camera, moving their camera, fixing their mics, putting their lapels on, then that doesn't matter to you, paying their Patreon just for them to say your name.
Yeah.
That doesn't add any value. If you're the camera person, that's different. If you're just in mics, if you're in the room, if you're doing makeup, and you're in the conversation room because you've been entrusted to have those, you know, that bit of data, whatever they're talking about, that's cool. If you do coffee for 2 years, you've gained more knowledge than some CEOs that are trying to be CEOs, because you've been around probably some of the best, because you've been adjusting tripods and lighting and stuff like that. So I think those things matter more than paying a Patreon just so what, they could shout your name. That doesn't make sense. It's not going to add any value to you.
I fully agree. And I hope anyone who's listening, you guys take that advice, because that's another gem. That's exactly how I look at it. I'm like, and you're right, it is a case by case situation, but it's like it's so common. I keep running across it, and people are like, "Oh, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Why? Like, why? Like, this person, they don't know you from Timbuktu." You know, it's. I have this thing, and I know I said this in the podcast with Danny. I have this Captain Savick content creator complex,
Right.
and I sometimes I just have to step back. I'm like, you can't, and it goes back to what you said. Like, everyone can't ride with you. They can't go where you're going. The Eagles can't hang out with the chickens. So it's like
They can't, man. They want to, but they can't.
oh man. Okay, so one of my next to last questions I wanted to ask about is when it comes to conventions. Now, how does a person get to go to conventions? Like, I feel like personally for me, I feel like I lucked out with E3 just because I'm cool with the company that made this headphones, Vitrix. But no one, like, until meeting you and Danny, I've never been told you can apply to go
Okay.
to like that or to PAX or anything like that. Like, for the audiences listening that may be interested, like, what is the is it possible and what is the process?
Okay. This is for somebody who has content out already or has not?
Has content, yes.
Has content out. Okay. So you have content out. Let's just use E3 as an example. E3 is a dream convention for many. And I think that anybody that tells you otherwise, maybe stop dreaming. Okay. So let's start there.
Okay.
So I would not hang around anybody who tells me, yeah, I've been there, done that. Okay. And especially if it's my first time, that's not the energy that you want. So let's just lay the groundwork on that. You go to the website for E3. Once you get to the website, there's usually a media section, media registration section. The media registration section on the website usually has different categories for different content creators. It'll probably have a Twitch category for Twitchers. It'll have a YouTube category. It'll have a podcast category. You need to pick the category that best suits your content. If your content is podcast, then apply as a podcast creator. It'll have a section for that. It'll ask you name, address, phone number, all that information. You fill it out. Once you fill out all that information, it may ask you to save that and give you a password to revisit that information. The best time to apply for the conventions that are huge conventions, especially if they're at arm's reach financially and psychologically, is to apply as soon as you hear that the application is open. Because if you're the first batch, they may be more lenient to let you in because you have all your stuff already in there. Usually they'll ask you for a couple of articles that you recently wrote. And just to give you what I did with Daniela recently for this E3, knowing that they were going to ask for articles, and knowing that Daniela doesn't write that much on the show, because I don't ask her to write that much. The only thing I ask her to do is to show up. That's it, right? So I'm not expecting Daniela to write an article a week or 2 to 3 articles every quarter. But when E3 is coming up, there's some articles that need to go up for her to even be considered for the convention. So one of the things that we did this year is like, okay, I think she was talking about some of the things that she wrote. She wrote some personal pieces and stuff like that. But I knew there was a deadline that she needed to have those 3 articles on the show radio's website so she can have those links to put in her application. So when they look at those articles, they see that those articles have been up, in the past 3 months, because there's a window that they want the articles, not 6 months, 8 months out. In the past 3 months, what have you done for me lately? That they want those articles recent. So I was like, Daniela, please get on this so we can get your application in as soon as possible. And I gave her like 6 to 8 different topic suggestions and stuff like that. And she did probably 1 out of that and then some personal pieces from that. But we needed the 3. She got the 3 up. along with driver's license, business card, the letter from the editor. That's me. So I'll say, hey, what's up? We're glad to attend your event this year. E3 2019 is going to be absolutely amazing. We're blessed to go to the convention last year. Then I, Andrew Alliance, editor-in-chief of the show Radio, asking Daniela to accompany me to this convention. She is a content creator for me as well. She does interviews on the show floor, blah, blah. So I give a little history of what she can do, right? And I'll say if you have any questions in regard to this submission for my co-host to attend, please feel free to reach me I'll give my number. I sign off, digital signature. If you can get it done, put a digital signature in there. On that document is done through Google Docs, which is free. Okay. If you need to take a picture of your card and post that, just do a picture, cut out, save that somewhere. So you have that. ID you have. So make sure you have a picture of that somewhere digitally. And all those pieces are usually the same pieces that they ask for most conventions. So have a picture of your business card already, old or new. Have your driver's license, a picture of that already. Have at least 3 articles consistent. If you know you're going to the convention and it's coming up soon, have some things already. If you have conversations where you're interviewing somebody else, that's great because they could see your depth of how you create content for that. That's great to send them those conversations. And I think once you have that ready, I usually have those things ready before I start the application process. So I do everything in one shot because in the E3 or most platforms that uses the upload mechanism where you have to upload the PDF for your links of your show, the podcast link, the Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, website, all that is in one document about you, the profile of the 2 authors, the contact information of the 2 authors, including the email address and stuff like that. That's one PDF that goes up. The picture of the driver's license that goes up. A picture of the business card that goes up, and then the articles and all that stuff that goes up. So those 3 or 4 things are uploaded into their system. And you want to make sure you upload all those things at one time, because once you have all those things in there, then you can go to the next step to save, get your password. So if you need to revisit the application process again for whether it's E3 or any other thing, it's usually similar, right? Some companies are more lenient. E3, you can either buy the gamer badge, go that way, or you can apply for the press, go that way. Some press companies or applications, it's just an email address. From what I understand, Twitch is just like, hey, if you'd like to apply for press, contact us here, and they give you an email address to send them the information. So then if it's just you and you're the editor-in-chief or whatever, then you do the presentation of yourself, the links where they can find you, your driver's license, your business card, all that stuff can go probably in all that one email to forward it to the Twitch people if you're doing a TwitchCon as a presser. They may apply, they may approve it, they may not. You'd have to see. Guardian Con, one of the things I did, even though I didn't go this year, I scrolled down to the part where it says, contact creator. If you're a contact creator or press person, please click here. And they have a little box on the right. You click that. It's probably a process very similar to most of the other pages or that has a media registration section. Address information, phone number, maybe impressions. Maybe they'll ask for site numbers and stuff like that. Some do, some don't. But if they do ask you for site numbers, be honest, because they have tools to check those numbers. And you don't want to lie about that, because that's an automatic, you're not welcomed. And if they're tracking the individuals that are lying about that and they're in their system forever, then your name is always going to be flagged with the fact that you lied about your numbers when your numbers weren't up there. And it wasn't about having high numbers, it was about integrity. And you missed it. You don't want to miss it. Mm-hmm. Just put your numbers in there, whatever they are. And if their numbers aren't there yet, you'd be like, hey, you got another year to grow. And there's different ways you go about that. So all the application process are pretty similar in what they ask. It's just formatted different, maybe a different system, but name, address, phone number, articles, recent articles, driver's license, business card and stuff like that. All that's pretty standard.
Cool. And one of the last questions I want to ask you is how important is it to have business cards when you're at these conventions?
I think it's changing. I think it's changing now because some conventions, when you get your badge printed, they have the scanner on your thing.
Mhm.
So a lot of the companies will scan your badge for the data. For E3, I would say definitely have it because that's still a thing that you exchange. I usually do it after the fact. I don't do it right away. So I want to have a conversation with the person first. And then if they say, do you have a business card? Then I take it out. Always, usually I take it out when they ask for it because I know they're going to ask for it anyway. Because the thing that you don't want is the noob that take out the business card first without having the conversation with the person that's in front of them. And I think that could be a make or break for an opportunity for you if you present the card first. So in a conversation, you get to a booth. Let's say it's a Bungie booth, for example. They'll have international registration on one side. They'll have American or whatever registration on one side. Depending where you are, you go to that line. You get to the person. Hey, I want to see the presentation for Shadowkeep. Do you have any slots available? They say, sure, we have slot. Do you already have an appointment? No, I don't have an appointment. What's your name? And you start giving out your name and stuff. And then they'll say, do you have a business card? I say, sure. Then I take it out. And I give the business card and then share your excitement. And they'll be like, yeah, we're excited too about all the stuff that we're showcasing this year, And then you have a little conversation with the PR person. And usually they're nice, right? And then you have that discourse with them. And then if there's something genuine that you want to compliment them, not saying you have to, and it's genuine, then compliment them on that. Be like, you guys had coffee? You have small talk with them, How often did you guys see anything on the show floor yet? Make small talk, it's cool. And then that you're probably the first person that day that actually took the time to ask them about their day, because most of the time they've been working at booth. The only time they leave is lunch.
Yeah.
And then maybe after parties, if they're able to go to those, if they feel like going to those, because they're there to work. Right. So they don't have sometimes a lot of room to move around and stuff like that. So so I think that's the process I usually take, which is how I ended up remembering Monica when we were going to that booth for Daniela for Final Fantasy, because I was looking at her, I was like, where? And I'm going through my mind of which year, what booth, where was the booth? And I remember it was EA. It was the time where EA had a big booth in front of one of the halls. And as soon as you walk into the hall, the booth was like a circular booth, like directly in front of you. And she was there. And then that's how I started doing, the talk and trying to catch up. How's everything going? And I was like, didn't you? Blah, 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 blah. And then that's how that happened. So you have to take the time to do that. It's not all about getting what you want, because usually you get what you want by giving them what they want first. And it's not that difficult with the discourse.
I know, like, I was over at the Alienware booth, and I was just chopping it up with one of the guys. Margot? No, Ray.
Ray. Well, Margot was when I went. That was with the waterfall, right?
Yeah. So I was chopping it up with Ray over there, and we were just talking, and then I guess he was having a good time. We were talking about like different foods. My first time out there, I was like, man, we should go get something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, I was shocked. Like 30 minutes passed later, and he's like, "What can we?" He's like, "So," he said, "What are you looking to do here?" I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" He's like, "Would you like to work with us or something like that?" He's like, what is your content about? He's like, you're a content creator, right? I was like, oh yeah, and then I started talking to him about the podcast, about the YouTube channel, and he said, "Oh man, you got a business card?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't think about it, but I just gave him the card, and he said, "Oh, here's mine." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Dale, Alienware, we'd love to work with you." And I was like, "Cool." And then my friend walked up. He's another content creator. He's like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "Do what? How are you going to work with them?" I'm like, "Dude, I was just talking. I didn't know what the guy's rank was with the company." And so I was just talking to him, and then I saw his car. I was like, "Oh, you're up there. Oh, cool."
Yeah, and that's how it happens. That's how it happens. So extras are always good. You know, print enough, double the prints if you need to. And sometimes it really doesn't matter how new the card is, as long as you have your information that they can reach, email, phone number, name, and then and you're good to go, man.
Definitely. Well, is there anything you want to leave the audience with, or any upcoming projects you're working on?
I think the main thing right now is the youtube.com/Andrew Alliance. I think the tools section that I threw in there, I would submit that they definitely consider checking that out. I'm going to add all the stuff that I've used throughout the years, or even recent, that I believe are timeless, if you will, in the context of what we're talking about, that they should check out. And it's a real grind, but it's a very rewarding feeling now that we just want to help, and that's it.
Definitely. And where can people find you on social media aside from YouTube?
On social, if they do streamerlinks.com/Uriah, that's URIYYA. That's my Twitter, Instagram. So URIYYA. You can find me on those platforms.
Okay. And I'll leave a link to all your social media, as well as the YouTube channel and everything else, down in the description below the podcast, in both the video and the audio formats. And hey, I have one last question for you.
Sure.
Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was great, man. It was good times, man. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the invite. Absolutely.
Definitely, man. We definitely got to do this again. I mean, if you'd love to come back on, I'd love to have you back on, because I feel like there's so much more we could talk about. And yeah, it's just lining up the time zone. I don't think the audience you guys understand. Like, we have a 6-hour time difference. Yeah. Like, it's 6 o'clock here. It's midnight where he's at. So
absolutely.
But you guys will be able to catch this episode of the podcast on youtube.com/Mekel Kasanova, as well as on, oh goodness, I need to get better at this outro. You'll be able to catch it on not iTunes. God, this is the second time I've done that today. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Launchpad DM, which is under Podcast One, as well as coming soon to Sirius XM Radio. And we love you guys to come through, check it out, leave a comment, and at the same time, I want you guys to go sub to his YouTube channel, sub to the Twitch channel, follow him on social media, listen and sub to their podcast. It's one of the best podcasts I've ever heard out there. And please leave a comment and rating, because it's very important as podcasters for us. So anyway, with that being said, is there anything you want to say?
No, man. God bless, man. Thank you so much, man.
Definitely. So with that being said, Andrew and I are signing out. We will catch you guys in the next one. Did you enjoy this episode of the Kasanova Podcast? Well, I hope you did. And if you did, please make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what we can improve upon, what you liked, what you didn't like, and all that good stuff. And just make sure you always have a good time. That being said, this is your boy Mekel Kasanova, Hawaii's favorite YouTuber. I am signing out, and I'll catch you on the next episode.